I woke up very unhappy, very scared, just very scary. Scary, scared, really scary. Was I really scared? I had like weird feelings in the pit of my stomach before it even started. I'm scared.
Yo, dogs, I heard you like horror pods. So we put a horror pod in your horror pod so you can horror pod while you horror pod.
You saying horror?
Oh my god, that was the worst one
Horror pod.
yet.
That sounds like an alien.
Wait, what is it? What are you? What
That's
the,
a
what
yo,
the hell are you
dog.
talking
I heard
about?
you like cars, so we put a whatever.
It's a Pimp My Ride reference.
Anyway, it's
X to the Z.
pod-ception over here right now. And actually, recently we peeled back the layers from Undertone. This week
Wow,
we're getting real
Temple.
meta Undertone with it. That's right, folks. The bad boys of horror are back for the 28th ever episode of 2 Minute and Baby, the horror movie review show, where three best friends discuss a scary movie each episode. We're covering 2026's Undertone, written and directed by Ian Toussaint and starring an inferior podcaster. The sound waves tickling your eardrums today promise to be the very own spooky spectacle of horror sonography, where our side of the microphone features me, your host, Will Dubs, joined audiodaciously
Okay.
by musician and fellow horror historian Brendan Fletcher, and the sonic parallels are even crazier here, by comedian and fellow crying baby, Abby, a.k.a. Abelzoo. What is it, Abazu?
Abazu, dude.
Krinsky Rogoff.
Call me Abazu Krinsk.
Yeah, this episode's about sounds, and more sounds, so Brendan, kick us off with them tasty
Theme
ones.
sounds.
Here comes some sounds.
2 men and a baby, oh yeah. 2 men and a motherfucking baby.
Let's get into our schedule of scares, our itinerary scary, if you may. But before we kick things off, let's talk about this family viewing experience we had.
We went to Clifton Commons. We're back, baby.
We
It's
back.
one of a kind.
It's very like one of a million, actually, but
It's uncommon.
Wait, do you like Clifton Commons?
I do, yeah. I think I like it
I'm a real
because
Crown
it's-
Club value member, so I don't really fuck with any
Hey,
AMC.
now
I
you
don't
can
know,
afford the
there's-
crown jewel, dude.
Well, we've only ever gone together.
No, I love it. I have a great time, and I was
What do
sad
you like
we
about
couldn't
it?
go early enough to go to Applebee's.
Well, it's like fast, quick in. Bathrooms are very
Yeah.
accessible.
He's like, I love hanging out with you guys at Clifton Commons because we don't hang out and we get in and out
I mean,
quick.
like, quick to get to your from the moment you open the doors to sitting in your
Yeah,
seat.
no, it's
Yeah.
good. I said, Brendan, do you want
I
to split a
broke-
large
yeah.
popcorn? He said, no, let's each get our own popcorn.
And I said, I'm going to have my own, please.
Yeah.
I'm 35 years old. I like to eat my own popcorn these
Did you
days.
put two smalls instead of one medium?
We got two mediums instead of one large.
Well, because I always find when I'm splitting popcorns with people's that I'm always keeping like that popcorn math in my head. Like, all right, it's getting lower into the bag.
Yeah.
I feel like I've reached down to
You
this
got
sack
all the
way
good
more
greasy-
than Abby has.
the butter kernels.
I will always eat the most popcorn, so I understand not
Yeah.
sharing with me. But yeah, we went to the Commons and we saw this movie early release.
Yeah, so we got to see an advanced screening. The review.
Not because we're special, but because we went on Fandango.com and found that it's filming early.
I actually didn't know that. That's what.
Yeah,
That's
comes
what
out,
that was.
We saw it on a Monday. Comes out the Friday
On a Monday.
of the week that we saw it.
on a
But also,
Tuesday.
apparently, this is part of a big campaign where they're releasing it in the theaters that they consider as having the best sound with the Dolby Digital,
and,
whatever.
And we all talk about that. We had surround ass sound. It was
could've-
surrounded around.
It was pretty surrounded.
I could have done with the director producer plug about Dolby Digital for like.
Oh,
that
you just mean like the
movie-
pre-movie.
Yeah.
I could have done without sitting in the absolute last row of the entire theater, Abby. I'm joking.
Nah, we were in the pitch black in the very, very back center with
It was good.
gyroscopic seat recliners that I couldn't figure out, and then Abby was like, "Nah, dude, it's got multiple features."
Reclining during a horror movie is a bit funny, at least for me, because I'm so uptight during all these, and I'm just like leaning back like a fucking king. My legs are up, and then I'm having a heart attack inside.
Yeah, at one point, dude, you were really leaned over, encroaching into almost my area at one point, where my left armrest, there was no territory
It's my
available.
left armrest.
Yeah, so now I'm So you're forgiven for that.
Situationally perfect for like a little bit of diddling. It was pitch black.
The people,
But-
the people sitting next to you you guys were chit chatting at one point. You showed them how to use the gyroscope.
Yeah.
I was
his
just
chair.
pissed though because this is stadium style seating, which is like the norm now. And as soon as I reclined, there was just a head. I had an occlusion, like a guy's head. You'd think that would not ever happen when
What? Whose head?
the guy in front
In the
of
row.
me.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh.
and it's like why.
You reclined too close to the
I
sun.
know
dude.
I had to unrecline. But the way we really officially kick off this agenda side is we each go around and give our own synopsis of the movie in one sentence and one sentence only before contrasting it with the official Rotten Tomatoes one. Let's hear what you guys put together.
Let's go, Sammy.
This is not a good one.
Uh-oh. That's usually what he says before his best work. So.
No. This one was pretty hastily popped. But let me pop it. We're real nice. While at home tending to her dying mother, Eve, a podcaster of the supernatural, inadvertently unleashes an ancient phantom power dead set on devouring children. And I'm using devouring in the sense of completely destroying. Yes, we know it.
So is it a
Marianne?
paranormal podcast, though? When you have one skeptic? It's a
Well, they're-
podcast about things that might be paranormal.
Well, the subject of the podcast are things that are all things paranormal, right?
I was about to ask what the name of the podcast was, and it's literally Undertone, right? The Undertone.
Yeah, the
podcast.
Undertone
Yeah.
podcast.
All right, I'll go next. Things aren't always as they sound.
Wow. I had two. All right.
What?
Yeah, this is the first one. My first one is EARie story.
Oh, that was harmonious,
Nice.
actually.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like a New York Times. These are like New York Times.
That's good.
Somebody the value of this episode is going to be somebody plays it backwards and then their entire family gets murdered.
Dude, honestly,
Play that
it's
backwards,
funny
what he just
because
said.
I got very scared to spoil this podcast. I was very scared throughout this whole movie, but also like I want Supernatural to be real so bad. I'm like, I have no fear coming in here about any of those type of meta things because I'm like, that'd be so cool. And I remember it multiple times in the movie just being like, that's gold. They're going to get so many listens for that.
So if you guys didn't know, the two main characters in this film are podcast hosts. And I got to say that the podcast is pretty good. I would definitely listen to it. And it's way better than this one, do you think?
Yeah, it's possible. That's why we don't get haunted, honestly, because we don't have the numbers.
Yeah.
If we can get a few more thousand listeners, maybe one of us can get murdered.
And also, that setup is sweet. I would love to have a setup like that.
A mic in your house when your mom died?
Jesus, insulting the,
It would be it'd be better to come here and hang out with you guys. I'm joking.
insulting the quality.
I'm joking.
The
The
caliber of
I'm joking. Yeah.
our attention.
But it's
to
comfy.
detail
Like
and
when
equipment.
you feel like you can. Anyway, I go, Abby. The second one.
Yeah, second
Oh, I didn't write down the second
version
one.
2.
It was podcasting while your mom's dying is scary. That was it.
Okay. Well, here's the official one, and it's a good, short, and sweetie. A paranormal podcast host becomes haunted by terrifying recordings mysteriously sent her way.
I like that. It was short, and I'd like to say I like that tight
Supernatural.
synops. I like that this was a 2-minute baby favorite. Short King, baby. This was an 85 minute. That is what we like to see.
I'm going to do something nice for Brendan since he seems to forget that podcasts, like the theme of this episode, are about sound. He did just hit me with a little wave of, see, I told you so, because he was right. Paranormal podcast is still the most
I said
apt
super.
description.
No, but I was about to say. I said supernatural. I meant to say paranormal. I think
Did
I
you
said,
say supernatural?
I think I.
Well, either
I think
way,
I
the
did. Yeah, yeah.
point is,
Right, right.
my thing was like, is it about,
Right.
like, do you call it, it's like, I guess the X-Files is a show about the supernatural, right?
Paranormal, supernatural are
Sci-fi.
interchangeable.
I wouldn't guess
terms.
that the X-Files is a show about the supernatural. That's like exactly what it is.
exactly.
And it's
Well,
like the show about the
I
supernatural.
guess what I was trying to say is that
If
they
one
have
person's
the skeptic
yeah.
and the believer,
Right.
and I'm sure there are episodes we didn't hear where they are debunked or whatever. I don't know. But Abby, I mean, you were already starting to touch on how scary or scared you were.
Touching on Brendan's elbow in that theater.
Dude, seriously encroaching.
So as the baby of the group, because I'm scared of horror movies, let's get to my segment, Baby in the Corner, where we put me in the corner with some reference to Dirty Dancing or some shit, and I'm going to talk about how scared I was so that all my fellow babies can be prepared.
Nobody puts baby in the corner, but we just put him in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner, but he's in that corner right now.
Will had set this up to me to be quite scary even before we started, because he's usually like, dude, whatever, you'll be fine. And this one, he was like, I think it's going to be bad. Granted, he hadn't seen this one either. So, yeah, it was just the classic drive there, pumped to see my friends, get a popcorn, pumped to eat until I feel sick, and then previews. And then I just remember I turned to Brendan and I was like, I really hope the previews don't end. Can't we just watch previews all day? And it was a really dark, tension-filled movie. Not a lot happens. And that's really scary. We've talked about it many times. We'll get more into it in the spoiler room, but like the scariest parts of horror movies to me are like before the shit hits the fan part. And this movie maybe takes away from some of its overall quality as a movie, but in terms of just being scary to me, at least as a baby, like it never really had shit hits the fan until the very end. And therefore I was fucking pissed because I was in horror the whole time. My legs were sweating. At one point, I looked at my watch just because I was like uncomfortable, and I was like, okay, how long has it been? And it was 30 minutes in, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I hadn't felt like that way since Talk to Me in theaters. We've seen some other movies that really scared me, but there's something about the theater level that really brings it up. And yeah, they just do a lot of like things out of focus in the back. And then, yeah, the kid sat next to me and I loved him. He'd be like, yo, what the fuck is that? And that was just really, it was one of those vibes, but it wasn't like, it kept being like, oh, something's about to scream out at you. Nothing ever screamed out, really, or a few times, but mostly it was those fakes. Mm-hmm. And that really just got to me. They did really extended scenes of black screen, which I don't know. I'm curious to hear from you horror experts if there's a bunch of other movies that have done that, and I've seen people like stay on a scene for a little while, but they kept doing it, and it really makes you uncomfortable. Silence is uncomfortable. Obviously, this played with sound a lot. When she'd put on the noise-canceling headphones, you'd lose all the outside sound. That's obviously a lot of what they did to play with the tension, and it all worked on me. So I don't think it was the greatest movie. I thought it was actually going to be a little bit better, but in terms of fear, I was very fucking scared.
Abby was making a lot of sounds. He kept making this one sound that was like, he was be like, oh. I was like, he's either
that was me coming, dude.
Yeah.
Why did I was making that sound?
yeah, but I did kind of do that sound. I kind of did that sound too, and you did it. And then like, for the rest of the time, every like moment like that in the movie, there was like, oh.
Oh yeah.
Like, it wasn't so sexual, but it was like, it was more like,
I was just angry at the.
It was
like,
scary.
It was scary.
There was some
scary
scary parts.
2 is going to be the tapes 11 and 12 of Abby reacting to the fact. It's like, oh my god.
Undertone 2 XXX.
Yeah,
Abby reacts.
Just his post-traumatic
Underbone.
stress disorder noises.
Yeah, no, but everything was slow in this movie. Moved slow, and that just built tension really well. I wrote down in my notes. One of my notes just said, "How is this fun?" And I'm looking over at you guys that are having fun, and I'm looking around the theater of people having fun, and I'm like, how is this fun? And granted, like, when it ends, there's some relief. It's a roller coaster. Like, we talked about all the connections, but, like, that was really tension building, and I didn't have fun. So with all that, I gave this an 8.7 on the Binkymeter, which is pretty high. Actually, you know, not as high as I think it was. There's a lot of similarities to this in Paranormal Activity, which we'll probably talk about, but I thought it was slightly low because there just weren't quite, there was a few less jump scares maybe, just like something flies or something, but it was really scary.
Nice.
I mean, I thought it was scary.
Nice.
I was appreciating new creative ways to derive tension from the audience. Like,
cool.
And
Yeah.
I did write down on 2 occasions that, you know, again, it wasn't like, oh, fuck. But I had the heebie-jeebies, like a little goosebump.
Yeah.
And I'd prefer that so much to a jump scare, which they had audio jump scares.
Yeah, they did.
Which I thought was pretty cool. But they really played around with your expectations visually. It was almost like sound giving the middle finger to the camera.
Absolutely.
The Dutch angles and the long tracking that ended up being a 360.
So many of
360
those.
house,
and it was like this mirror vibe because it would go away from the person, and then technically like normal view of space, it should hit the wall, but then it would just sort of come back at the person like as though the whole house was a mirror. And that played with like what's real and what's not was a lot of this movie.
Even the Dutch angle would in a couple of scenes end up spinning all the
Yeah.
way until it's a complete
Back to normal.
But what was so cool about those long extended shots in terms of building dread, when it's so focused on sound and you're watching somebody listening to the same thing you're listening to, but it's framed, you're just constantly like, what am I supposed to be looking for?
Right.
And if you stare long enough at something that's not well lit, you start to
Make
wonder,
things-
oh, is there something there? And it's
Yeah.
like, it's almost induced hallucination or something.
Yeah, and then this director really played with you because sometimes there were things there and sometimes there weren't. But no, I totally agree. And they played a lot. You play with a frame where there's darkness, complete fall off of exposure in the frame. So exactly like you said, the character's lit in the foreground, but you keep looking at this background like what could be there. If nothing is there, you either hallucinate something be there or you're like something will be there. So it's now the tension of when it's going to come. And they did the same thing. Again, other movies do this, but they played a lot with focus where something is in focus and the rest is out of focus. So you're like, what the fuck is it? Because there was one spot where it's like, there's a white thing in the darkness, like not subtly. You're not hallucinating it. It's there. But it was so out of focus, you could not make out what it is.
It didn't move and it ended
It
up...
didn't move, didn't be anything. I don't think we ever found out. And I think this movie also, like,
When she's at the kitchen table,
yes,
And
yeah,
peek
yeah,
over her shoulder?
Yeah, but it's like on
It's
all fours. It
earlier-
looked like a table. Ooh, I just got goosebumps talking about that.
It was earlier in the movie.
Yeah, it was
right?
earlier.
Yeah.
It looked like a table almost, or a
Yeah.
person on all fours, all white. But it
I
was
think
just
it was
so out of focus.
supposed to be her mom in a nightgown.
But it
But
was
it-
really low.
Yeah,
to
I
the
think she
ground.
was like on crawling.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
so
but-
scary.
I mean, my interpretation is Abby's in that it was never established.
Exactly
It
what it-
didn't focus enough where other times there was. I think that they trained you the whole movie that for the few times where something did move or your eyes were supposed to be drawn, what was to me the scariest part of the whole movie that I think half the audience didn't even notice for the first half of the sequence, which was like her moving her head ever so slightly
Yes,
in
yeah,
bed.
yeah.
Because so much of the movie visually is fucking with you, manipulating you. Like every time that
lot.
mirror,
Yeah.
and I could even hear like the like people almost reacting as if the scare did happen
Yeah,
when
but
it
it
didn't.
No, exactly.
Um,
Wait, so before, let's go to the spoiler room real quick. But real quick, like here in the corner, in my baby corner. Brendan, how did you feel? Were you scared? Did you find it scary?
I thought there were moments that gave me goosebumps, or they were definitely scary. But like as a whole, I wouldn't say this was a very scary movie. I felt like
Wow.
I do agree with you that like the implementation of the noise canceling headphones when she's at the kitchen table and there's that shot where she's occupying sort of like a third of the shot,
Yeah.
and then the other 2/3 of the shot are the rest of the kitchen, and it's sort of like the foyer and,
Yeah,
and that door
darkness.
into like that other room, and you can kind of make out like you don't really know what you're looking at, and you know the audio that she's listening to is so loud. You're listening to the audio she's listening
Right.
to, but you don't know what's happening in the house, like the audio that's happening in the house. So she keeps actually looking backwards. And I'm familiar with that sensation when you're listening to
Yeah.
something or you're like watching a loud show or something. And then you think you hear something bang in like a distant room in your house or like something outside, and you turn down the TV or whatever, and then there's
Right.
nothing there. And so like that's like a new thing that they played on. I thought
Yeah.
that was really interesting.
Cool play with tech.
And cool. But I will say, like, it was so understated, it felt like the movie, that at times it aired on the side of being a little boring. And it was like there was almost so much of nothing happening that I was wanting more to
Right.
happen.
Sometimes there's so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
tension that it goes
Because
full
like I get
circle.
like looking at something, hallucinating, and almost like the absence of a horrific element is as horrific as if there is something there. But when it's just constant absence,
Yeah, you want it a little more.
At some point, you're like, I need to.
Oh, yeah, I was the same. I was like, let's get to the next episode.
Right.
I feel in that this will be the last pre-spoiler thing about this. I would say that the amount of breaks they took to take narrative steps, if you're gonna do that, complete the fucking narrative or whatever.
Yeah. No, I see that. What is, just to ask, like, what is a scary movie of recent that you've
Well,
seen?
here's
Like,
a good
I wanna
example,
hear.
because I felt like this movie, there was a lot of similarities between this movie stylistically and Hereditary. Like there were a couple. One of the scariest moments in Hereditary, and I don't want to spoil it, but there's a moment where the grandmother that's died in Hereditary, the mother goes into a room, shuts out the light,
Yeah, I know.
and sees
I mean,
the grandmother
that's the scariest
standing
thing I've
there,
ever
like
seen.
in the
Yeah,
darkness,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's so scary, and it's literally the same type
Yeah.
of shot.
No, for sure.
That's done.
But Hereditary's like-
but I'll be honest with you. Like before Hereditary, I hadn't really seen that type of shot
Yeah.
before. Like
No,
in darkness, seeing something standing there clear, but like a nebulous figure in the dark.
Yeah.
After
No,
shutting a light on,
movie
that was
you can't
exactly.
watch on a $200 projector. Anybody that wanted
Yeah.
to, I tried to, and I literally had to stop it and pull it up on my laptop because I was like, I
Yeah.
know we're supposed to see something, but
Right.
the blacks were too faded and on
But the same
projector.
thing, like think something happening in the background that you're not sure of
But-
at first. Like the same thing that happened in Hereditary a
Right,
lot.
but for example, like Hereditary is arguably like the scariest movie ever made.
Yeah.
So like, what's a movie,
oh.
a modern movie that scared you? Like, I'm just trying to curious, like, what
Hereditary
does
scared me.
anything? I know, but
Yeah,
besides
yeah.
the scariest
That was
movie
the
maybe
last
ever.
movie that really
so it's
scared me.
Hereditary, and then there's everything else. All right,
Babadook was another.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, like, this movie, I thought some of the scares, the very as infrequent as they were, like up until the end, and the end was a different movie.
Yeah.
Like the last like 10 minutes of this movie
Yeah,
was
we'll
like
talk
a
about
completely
that,
different
yeah.
movie. But like up until that, the last 10 minutes, I felt like there were some really effective scares that I
Okay.
that I actually would compare to like Babadook, for example. The audio quality,
Yeah.
like the monster in Babadook.
Don't tell me, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so like very similar to the voice.
So if you were doing the
in-
Binkymeter,
yeah.
you think this would be like higher of our 28
Oh
episodes?
no! Well,
for
I
you?
think it would be. I think that's fair because I do think of like the scares in it, they were scary. I just
Yeah.
felt like it wasn't enough for me to like kind of put me
Yeah,
over
no,
the
no,
edge.
that's-
Yeah, that's all.
I think that, and I was worried that your Binkymeter score might have been deflated, but I think that if you were to just analyze it from the way that the horror moments were captured, it's about as scary as anything that we've watched. in
Yeah,
terms
and
of,
my highest
yeah.
is like a 9.1
Totally.
But
or
the
something.
difference is, to your point, that moment is in the very beginning of Hereditary, but also the end sequence that is equally terrifying visually. It carries so much weight narratively that it's even more jarring. So not having the juxtaposition of this emotional investment and the scare, it does undermine and sometimes make you forget about how good some of the, if you were to just be like, watch this scene out of context and this scene out of context, and you've seen neither movie before.
Yeah.
It's as
Wait, but you say so you're saying the context made that movie as scary?
Well, like,
as the
I think-
Hereditary one?
No, I'm saying it
Yeah,
didn't. It
right.
made it less scary.
Right, but like
Oh,
to your
yeah,
point,
yeah,
like
yeah.
we were talking about
True.
this, and one day we'll do this once we get the big money. It's like putting like a heart rate monitor on me to watch movies. Like to your point, like there might be moments where the heart rate gets as high here as anything else, but it doesn't have that payoff that makes it stick with you as long.
This
or-
is something
yeah.
that drives me fucking crazy with horror movies that have great ideas and do something new, and they dropping the ball in the third act. It can end up undermining so much of what was great about the beginning of it. And I try to like
not let it ruin it.
yeah, like I don't think that a bad ending should make a good movie a bad movie. I think it's a good movie with a bad ending or whatever. I'm not saying that's what this was per se, but I do think that, you know, the great horror, Hereditary, is scary in the narrative beats and breaks. You're being unsettled also then in a totally different way, where the narrative beats in this, you're right, it was like, all right, let's get back to the fucking
I al-
Well,
scary
it's also,
podcast.
and it's like there's only two people in this movie,
Right, and
It's like,
one's dead.
Yeah, one
Dying.
doesn't, is
Yeah.
bedridden the entire movie, and the other one is
It's the main character.
Is
No,
the main
and-
character, but and Justin, I guess you could argue is the
Yeah.
third character, but you never see him. But so
Okay.
like it's like a very lonely atmosphere, and when you don't have a lot of characters, it's hard to like learn anything about the characters because there's no like foil to like get.
And I
to-
think
to
on the other side,
reveal,
like
so-
the loneliness does add to scariness. But I would say my biggest thing is like when we're talking about that level of a movie like Hereditary in terms of like the creme de la creme of horror, it's like this, it didn't have some of the payoff. It had some of the fear for sure for me. I didn't think she was bad, but she wasn't that amazing. And like in Hereditary, holy shit, the acting is so good. And that's when you're trying to do this kind of movie, like this subtle, this much tension building. It's like to be great, you need great, mind-blowing performances.
Yeah.
I
She
didn't
was
think
in Handmaid's Tale. That's the only thing I remember. I recognize
Yeah.
her from.
I
but
didn't
she
think
was pretty good.
that Justin was great. I'm like, all you got to do is be a voice actor.
Right.
I thought he could have been better.
There was only one fun fact that I found on this movie, and it was that they replaced Justin with a different actor like a week before filming. I don't know
No
who the original guy
way.
was.
Wow.
That's super interesting.
All right, well, I've got a fledge fact for you.
Wait, let's go to the. Can we do the spoiler
Yeah.
room part? Let's get down to the spoiler room. Spoiler room, come down, and we hang around and around and around and down and out. Crack, crack, crack.
Abby, you didn't run through your plot, but really all you need to know is that a podcast of one skeptic and one believer listen to audio files that are maybe haunted, and over the series of 10 clips told entirely through the view of the female podcaster, things start to overlap between what she's listening to, very small clips of information, and what's going on in her life where she's taking care of her invalid mother and also is dealing with a pregnancy that she's unsure whether or not she wants to keep. And the villain, Abazu,
It's a demon.
the demon, it all ties back to...
I think it's like an
Genesis.
ancient Hebrew, yeah.
No, Middle Eastern,
all the stories tie back to nursery.
I'm saying
Nursery
Abazu.
rhymes and
in particular,
songs.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She starts playing nursery rhymes backwards. Oh, wow. Where did she learn that
Well, that
one
was the only
from?
other thing that I thought was interesting with the tension playing is like her being pregnant, but it's like she's so early in the pregnancy, and you're like, she's gonna fucking get rid of this pregnancy anyway.
But 6
It's
months
like,
is not that early,
Yeah,
dude.
no, it was 5 months. I thought.
6 months.
6 weeks.
I think you said 6 months.
That was 6 weeks.
No, 6 months you would
Yeah, you would have
Yeah, 6
known,
months
right?
was
That's why
showing.
I was confused.
No, it's 6 weeks. I
Also,
thought.
guys, I was like, this movie was very quiet a lot, and it was like very relaxing, and I was like
Yeah, you're-
starting to nod off a little bit in some of these parts. So if I screw up some details,
It has Brennan's fucking heroin. And he's
Yeah.
like, dude, shoot me up with this.
It had to
That's
be
why I
6
was
weeks.
elbowing
It had
you,
to be
dude.
6 weeks. It had to be 6 weeks.
But I was gonna say, like, one of the things from a baby point of view was there wasn't a fear of losing a baby because I wasn't connected to the baby. There was this weird thing where, as scared as I was like, what's the worst that could really happen here? The mom's about to be dead. The baby's not alive, and then the other main character we've never met. So it's really just one character. Will she die?
Right.
And
Well,
she seems not to care about the baby anyway. She's drinking whiskey.
right? Oh, yeah,
Well,
very
there's
much.
the theme of it's just like maternal, like
No, the theme worked. I'm just saying that was a little less scary than if there was a. Usually, if there's a second person, you can see the loss more.
I think it was like a plot device to make the idea of a baby killing demon.
Of course,
scary.
yeah.
yeah, right. Either characterize more and better and do better with the narrative beats, or get rid of it entirely and let's just keep the story moving through these podcast clips, because that some of the best sequences were
those were really scary.
Still frame
Yeah, I
or
agree.
tracking shots of them listening.
Also, it didn't really make sense why. Like, it makes sense that in a plot, the character, Justin, who does believe in all of the shit, it makes sense that he would get panicked, right? But I didn't really understand what moment really made him get so shook. Like, he changed from what seems like a normal podcast to this feels very different. But it was before the people called in. So, like, when did...
Well,
I was
at
a
one
little
point
confused.
They say
with it.
his name, but he freaks out a little bit
Before that.
Because his name was by one of the couple.
Yeah, and that, again, I'm getting goosebumps talking about. Once it said his name, once they brought in the connection of those
Because
to
he's
it,
supposed
that
to
was
be
really
the guy
scary.
that like is the guy that
I know,
believes
so
in all
maybe
this
every
shit.
episode,
Yeah,
every
so
episode he
like,
sort of says, let's
"This is
stop
crazy."
doing this. Yeah.
He did get freaked out when there was like the audio, if you believe what you're listening to is real audio, where things like, I think a sync turned on by itself, where there were, assuming the file is not fake, like weird things where I think there was a sync, there was the hearing of a baby that didn't exist.
Right. No. I mean, it was freaky, but again, it just and yeah, my bigger thing is just they were trying to like make a point, like it's a podcast, so they kept being like, okay, let's get into character. It's like you're not. You are the character. Like, why are they trying to pretend? Like, couldn't tell what the difference between it was. They would have these conversations, and then they,
Well, it's because should I redo that intro?
yeah. No, but I'm not. I mean,
No, but
they
I-
were-
Yo, dog, I heard you like characters, so I
Yeah.
gave you a character. All right.
They were treating it professionally.
Right, but fine, I guess. But they were literally like having a conversation that would be so great for the podcast, and then they'd be like 20 minutes into it, like save it for the pod. It's like you're talking on the mic and recording. Just use it. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
True.
Honestly, they're trash, and we're great.
Yeah.
They could have been.
She
way
did have
better.
a good radio voice though when she got into it.
Yeah, like I would rather just hear her tell a spooky story. She's got a nice little voice. We touch on some of the visual audio tricks and stuff. I mean, I thought the Dutch angle was interesting. The play with the mirror and shit was interesting. I do think that, again, the guy, his full dedication to making this an auditory experience.
Yeah.
He also was like giving a big fuck you to every like cliche or trick in the horror camera handbook or whatever. Dutch angles being like the number one thing in film school. Something's off.
Something's off. I have a theory with it, and I want to hear, like, the big question that we got to talk about here in the spoiler room is like, what the fuck happened? Because it's a lot of playing on what could be happening, what's real, what's in her head. And I actually am not sure, so I'm really curious what you guys think. One thing that I noticed I thought was really cool is once she, A, says she stopped sleeping, and B, comes off the wagon and starts drinking, the camera moves become a lot more common. And not the moves, the pan arounds, because I think that's atmospheric. Like, that is us just getting to know the house and the supernatural. But once we started seeing more Dutch angles of her, I viewed that as, and I could picture your voice talking about this in The Shining, I started viewing that as unreliable narrator. Like, right when that happened, she said, I can't sleep and I'm drinking now. I said, okay, unreliable narrator. Now every shot, I'm curious what is real and what's not. And
But
that was
she the narrator?
Well, again, I mean, the question is, were the dreams real? At the end, it's assumed that those drawings on the wall mean she was going crazy and drawing on the wall the whole time, or what? We don't know if any of it's real. It's possible that nothing happened. It is possible. Then that's what I was saying too about the ending of this movie is like other movies play with this all the time. Oh, you don't know what's happening, you know, and then there's a jump, or you don't know what's happening and we keep it vague. That is a classic horror trope. But this movie, literally nothing could have happened.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think that's...
Lights turned on, faucets turned on.
I
honestly don't know. I don't really know, and nor do I really care.
That's my thing.
I care.
That's my thing. No.
It's called Undertone. It should be called Underwhelming. Dude.
He brought that one to the vein.
Here's my beef, and Abby, this is what we were talking about earlier. You were very like jarred.
I thought a lot of movies pretend to have an ending like this, and then something jumps out. And they did that, but nothing happened. Nothing jumped out. Nothing really happened.
Yeah, ending and the movie being like...
the mom is like running towards her.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The mom running toward her?
Yeah.
But she doesn't touch her, so it's like...
Well, we don't know that.
Right, but exactly, that's the difference. I'm saying a lot of times something finally makes physical contact, and then you know it's real, like Paranormal Activity is the famous one. Like... something physically happens.
I agree. I think that jarred, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Sopranos. They Sopranos did.
Where's the end? I think, and Brendan, this is where I want to hear if you agree.
And if you're awake.
If you, this is not, to me, this isn't a new sensation, and it's a frustrating, in my opinion, when it's not great, cop-out of these horror movies that do something really well for a while, and the third act commits to not explaining, it's almost like lazy writing, but there are a lot of movies that just decide to end.
There is an argument that there's a cop-out, too, the other way, where the cop-out is the Jason jumping out of the water. You could also argue that's a cop-out, but I see what you mean. I agree.
Those are not the ones I'm talking about,
yeah.
but also I would say that's almost even worse, but that already had a resolution.
Yeah.
That's, hey, let's get away with one more scare.
Yeah, it was a different movie the last 10 minutes. It was like this understated, really slow burn,
hits the fan.
like very nuanced movie where the little audio tricks are the things that are like providing the scares. And then it just becomes like your classic, let's throw everything at the wall, see what sticks.
Except nothing actually touches her. That's the big difference.
But
that matters to me.
It matters.
I can hallucinate, but hallucinations can't touch me. When as a baby, like in the movie, once the hallucination touches you, scared me. Once the hallucination touches you, that changes everything to me.
Or did the hallucination touch you?
Yeah, I know.
I think you're very hung up on or not hung up. You have already experienced the one other alternative, but it's not like there aren't others that don't just abruptly.
Right, fair. Well, like what are examples? I haven't seen enough.
So again, the Blair Witch isn't necessarily nobody gets touched, but again, it's just a crescendo.
Right, but I thought the Blair Witch had closure to me. somewhat.
We never know what happened or why, and
Yeah.
I think
But
if you'd seen it for the first time,
But you know for a fact that he is gone in some way, and the witch has taken over, and this person is trapped, and maybe they're coming back, or maybe they won't, but they probably aren't. Versus this is different to me because this is like nothing could have happened, maybe, or everything could have happened.
I don't think that there's a nothing could have happened. I think it's just.
Do we think she definitely drew on the walls, or she just imagined that?
I think to Brendan's point, it's like it doesn't really matter.
I don't remember her drawing on the walls.
We never see her draw on the walls, but in the final reveal, all the walls are covered with the drawings of the
right,
creepy
on the
lady.
stairs.
Yeah,
up
the stairs.
Well, in the beginning of the movie, you see her like remember that drawing?
In the mom's drawer,
and then she drawing that picture at the end, right?
So it's assumed that, but again, it's like,
It's a projection.
Has she been hallucinating the whole
No,
time and drawing, or is she seeing?
No, I don't think.
Right
I don't
now?
think that's a. I take it as like that last is a hallucination. That those last drawings are. So another big issue, and I'll try to tie this all together based on this one thing that I also did not like, like the dynamic between her and her mother, like the backstory there, like it's never really gone into, right?
No,
there's like
just that the mom cares about her and is mad
and
religious.
she's mad religious, and you
know.
hear some voicemails and stuff, and like it seems like they have a pretty good relationship. And then out of seemingly nowhere, she goes to the caller into the podcast, goes, I killed my mom.
Mother. Right.
I killed my mom.
Because she didn't pray next to her
and,
bed.
and she was like, the reasoning behind it was
Yeah.
like, what?
It was like a classic, like we all feel a guilt, a grieving guilt, but it's like, okay, you're really pressing it. Like you didn't even like leave her alone to go to a party, which
Don't
she
you
did.
think there was an
didn't bring
opportunity there to like for that to be cooler or to that be more interesting or to like or take like us in like a bit of a different direction? To me, it was like really lame and stupid, and it felt like that. Based on what she said there, could have explained so much more into the relationship and given us more of like a justification for why the mom attacks her at the end or something.
Right.
And I don't know.
So she did say early in the film she kind of would prefer if it was just over. She wants her mom to
which
die.
is such a fair. We've all, if you've ever experienced that,
I think
kind of like
stressful,
invalid
for
situation,
everyone.
you're like, let's just get this over with. Sometimes
I do think it's a lot more literal than like I think that there's what happened from a narrative standpoint, which is that we experienced her going through the influence of the Abazu demon from the point of view of an
but what does the
audience.
demon want?
Babies for whatever reason, and we're watching somebody who doesn't believe in that experience that, and that experience is twofold: one, paranormal, and two, insanity. Everybody that was tied to Abazu did something insane, killed kids. And
Abazu was originally a woman that she lost her child and then she like was killed and came back as like this demon that wanting to steal old babies from people.
Right.
But it influences the mothers. And I don't think there's like, did Abazu get her and she made this all up? No, I think it happened, but the third act, what we are seeing doesn't really matter. It's just that descent into madness. And they have to show something.
Yeah. No, you're right. And to be fair, like I as much as I hate being like, it doesn't matter because it feels like a cop out a bit, I also sort of agree in this sense, which is like what I think this movie did, which is sort of cool and sort of disappointing, is I think there are some crazy, classic Will, if you loved it, you could probably go back and watch it and find all these things. Because I would catch all these little things throughout it, which is cool, but it's also funny that if you do all these Easter eggs but forget to make the movie interesting enough, no one's going to go back and care about your fucking Easter eggs.
This is the part that I'm hung up on that drives me crazy, and also why I thought that ending was coming. Going back and looking, because I wanted to see the critic score and also find what people were saying, like ending explained, and it's like, this is a movie that's, an independent film that's smart enough to trust its audience enough to not hold its hand. And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to make the breadcrumbs, you have to show where it leads. You build the narrative of the demon and what happens, but we don't actually see the completion of that arc from a storytelling standpoint outside of chaotic, up for interpretation.
Did you catch the doll was on the fridge at one point? Like, there's all these things that they do, like Shining-esque, where it's like they switch out things and things are moving. But yeah, does it matter? Like, what does it mean?
If you build coherent lore up 2/3 of a movie, give me the completion of the lore for our character. I just don't like that,
Is it possible we're just missing something, though?
No. I for everything that I can tell is just like, the guy wants you to to
I mean, we could be missing something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
it won't be the first time.
well, the director wants it to be up to you.
Okay,
but-
no, then
but
that's
it's-
different.
It's
Then-
just
then, yeah.
you're experiencing it with her as like.
And
Dude,
it
it's like
doesn't-
fifth grade English class where the teacher goes, no bad answers, and like everything's valid after you read like some sort of either like piece of poetry or creative writing.
Yeah.
Everyone's giving their 2 cents. I feel like there's so much in here, like when she has like the Mary statuette, she puts it in the
Yeah,
closet,
and
and,
it
like the
comes
Malthus he
back.
gave. And then,
You're right. It's just a
and
lot of
like,
they
there's
just
like
tag
a-
in.
they're
It's
either-
like they had a checklist
They're
of
throwing a
things
lot
that are
at the
scary.
wall,
Yeah.
and they're like, whatever
And the same
you
thing-
feel, it is to you.
The mom relationship. She's at one point like, and again, it's like we love a short king here, but like. Maybe you needed a little more minutes because at one
Short
point
king.
she's saying to the mom, she's like, "Mommy, I'm pregnant." Like that. It's like, but we don't know what your fucking mom's relationship is. Did she want you to have a kid? Did she
Yeah.
not? Like, who's
they-
your who? What?
If they cut like one of those expository scenes and put an expository scene in that climax or an expository moment, just so that
Right.
we can be like, oh, that's what happened.
Right, and it doesn't
I
have to
would
be
like
clear.
the
You can
movie-
leave it to be like what's
Sure,
real and
sure.
what's not. But I agree, we needed a little more here
Yeah.
because
So you-
the fuck, dude,
Is Justin her friend? It's her friend,
right? Her
Or
friend,
is it
but
her
it's
brother?
like he's in London. No, it's her friend.
Okay,
for
so
sure.
definitely her friend. Yeah, yeah.
But it's like he's in London and but he doesn't want to
Hasn't visited
visit.
in
But
10
and, yeah,
years.
and then
Yeah.
she has a boyfriend
Who he doesn't
who
like,
she
yeah.
lives with.
Yeah,
but
and the
like,
boyfriend's like, "Listen,
Also,
I
is
love
that
you.
the baby
Yeah.
Come out to this party."
Right. It's the
It's like
baby-
your mom's gonna be there when you get back.
And then there was
It's like,
no
what?
payoff for that. Like the mom was on the floor. That was really cool tension building. But then it's like, but that she was dead, and we don't know what happened. Like it's all
Yeah.
very.
The
fucking-
also the religious iconography that they would like zoom in on heavy, like
which was
Jesus.
again cool and creepy.
Yeah.
But
it's just
yeah.
flesh it all the way out.
Dude, I think that's what it is. They just had a checklist
It's
of
like-
scaries, and they were like,
That's just
done,
scary,
done,
dude.
done.
That's all it was.
So Abby's like, has a movie ever done that before, where it just cuts to black and leaves you with that like, what the fuck? And I'm saying that I feel like a lot of horror movies will do this. Like, fuck you. You're
A
not
little
gonna
bit of
get an
it, for
answer.
sure. Yeah.
But they're the ones that it's an intelligent, up for interpretation discussion
Yeah,
thematically,
right.
like
Like Blair Witch.
Well,
Well,
again, Blair Witch doesn't really
No, Blair Witch to me is the most similar to this. In fact, it's like I felt like it was almost rip off.
It's so similar.
Because
I
like
disagree.
just because it's black, like Sopranos is not similar because there's no audio over the blackness. It's just black.
Abby's
this
the
is
sensation that you're talking.
Yeah,
about.
the sensation. I didn't feel that sensation with Blair Witch because it left me with this creepy, like, ooh, that's up for interpretation. This left me with, I need the next scene to be up for
Yeah.
interpretation, but there is no next scene. It's nothing.
I really
Wait,
am
but
convinced-
you don't really know what's. I mean,
you
don't really know in Blair
anything with
Witch.
the Blair Witch.
I don't know. It just struck
So-
me something about sensation.
But like you have a good, you have like an iota of a feeling with each Blair Witch and Undertone of what's like happening. She's
No, because
screaming about something.
but, like,
right?
the Blair
so you
Witch,
can
it's
deduce
like
that
the-
she's like being harmed by
But
something.
the Blair Witch,
Man.
we have the lore, and it matches the lore. The lore is that the Blair Witch lures them
Yeah.
into a place, and she controls them. They lose their life in some way. Like I'm, versus this. Wait, I don't.
You
I
have
guess
you have a child hunting,
yeah.
murdering like demon
that is the mom.
that is trying to rip
But is
out
she
the
the
baby
mom?
from this
Abazu.
mother.
I know, but it.
It's the same way with the Blair Witch. What is the Blair?
Yeah, we don't know what that
But-
what it
but
looks
hold on.
like. What it
No,
what
but I'm saying,
form
but
it
why
takes.
is it the mom's form? That doesn't make
Well,
sense.
because
No, it only preys
Hold
on
on,
mothers.
wait, because you hear all those audio tapes that Abazu's taken over this woman
Right.
who sleepwalks.
So
we
Abazu's
assume
taken over
it's-
her mom,
So we
who's
assume
dying.
this
No,
this
her.
hold on.
Right.
We assume this ancient demon it possesses someone, as we see with the audio tapes that they make the
Right,
podcast
okay.
about. So we assume that because we see the mom like doing all this crazy shit and reflections and stuff, that there's something up. So the only like logical explanation is it's the same thing that's happening
Right.
to the
Okay,
woman
okay.
in the
So
audio.
I think the parallels are actually wild. It's just I'm wondering because I'm thinking back on literally to quote ourselves from the Blair Witch episode is they built the lore, but none of the stories are, to use your word, congruous.
Yeah.
Like each one is slightly different.
They're mostly
there's like
senatorial.
the Castle Rock, there's the killer, there's the wall. There are all these elements that never fully get fleshed out, kind of like what we're experiencing.
Sure.
Only
Okay.
to culminate to a very tense moment that's not well explained with no scene entity that ends
True.
very, very abruptly with an image right before blackness, which in I know you were like, well, I got that one last visual, but we got to see the mom approaching her, but the explanation is still lacking. And I think when we saw the movie, you mentioned that you knew the ending, or that was the only thing that
Right,
you remembered.
right.
But I remember almost exactly the
Same feeling when you
sensation,
first watched it.
being
Okay.
like, what the fuck? Like,
Right,
but
we're not gonna get
now,
more.
I mean, the more amazing things about that movie that it does otherwise.
Yeah.
That,
No, okay.
that
I'm
ending was always
I'm sold on that.
where
I love the ending for Blair Witch
Yeah,
Project.
Yeah,
I
me
think in this
too.
instance, it was literally
I thought
the
the
guy
ending was
just
cool,
didn't
too.
know
Yes.
how to fully
do it.
So The Sopranos is the most similar, and if you are feeling like it's a non-ending we're never going to tell you.
Right.
I still think that it doesn't matter exactly what happened, but I do think she was definitely Abazood.
Yeah.
The Thing has a somewhat abrupt ending where you'll never really know
No, which one is? Yeah.
which one is The Thing. I will say the most movies that do this
Dude.
are found footage. So Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch
Right.
both have we never fully explain the
Right,
lore,
right.
and then we build and build and build, and there's a scary moment. It's just your point, like that guy got thrown into the camera.
So it's like Supernatural's real.
We don't know what happened to her outside of, I think we witnessed her possessed dissension into madness.
Right.
I'm thinking like Martyrs is very deliberately open-ended. The Last Exorcist, like they just don't know how to end it once they want to
Right.
have their scary third act.
Yeah,
So they
okay.
just
I like that
end.
better because like horror movies are so
it's the
hard to
same.
freaking end sometimes. We're not going to tie this
Yeah.
puppy up in
No,
a bow.
it's hard to
Well,
tie
Let's
it up.
make
It's
it.
hard-
Let's make it ambiguous because that's
So-
actually way easier.
So when
Well,
you
but the other ones almost deliberately had less story. It was
so when
interact-
you said that this movie is a whole different movie in the last 10 minutes, Brendan, are you saying that as a negative or a positive?
Yeah, probably a negative. But like the scary part of the ending was like the audio sort of details, like where like
Yeah.
the screaming, where she's like covering her ears,
Yeah.
like they really boosted the gain of this puppy. My eardrums were ringing after this,
Yeah.
and I liked it. I was like, yeah, cute. That was cool.
I do think the one last scare of the mother walking towards her was fucking creepy.
Oh,
but again,
very.
it was already
Yeah.
past that
Right.
point of no return where I'm like, this isn't gonna make
And
sense.
we're not going to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
anything.
American Psycho is another movie where you'll never know whether or not Patrick Bateman.
He did, yeah. Let's get on.
Let's get on.
Just to mention, it's a theme that I've noticed since we started the horrors. All you horror heads already know. They love times. People love times. This one was 3 a.m. or 3:01 a.m. or 3:25 a.m. a few times, but it's 3 a.m.
Also, what didn't
The
they
number
say
of the-
3 p.m.
Trinity.
at one point, which I thought was interesting? Like a
I
time
didn't know
difference? I
that.
don't know. Anyway,
Oh, yeah, well, London, 6 hours,
Trinity.
9 a.m. Trinity.
all right.
That was
So-
scary, dude. I just got another goosebump, though, when the guy says...
Yeah, what, singular goosebump?
Yeah, just only one, right on right above my balls. He goes, my clock just changed to 3 a.m. and it's like it's coming, like the northeast fucking time is coming to him in London.
So to round things out, we get into the various scorings.
What if the whole thing was just the mom playing a prank? She just gets up, she's like, "Gotcha! You should have been a better daughter, bitch."
The last 5 minutes of the movie, if it was her putting the doll back and forth, I would have liked that ending better. Seriously. I
The
would be
mom,
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
At least now that's a dumbass ending, but it ended. All right. So
It's like, gotcha. By the way, your podcast sucks.
Yeah. By the way, I faked the numbers. No one's listening.
before we give our own scores and try to guess the critics' scores, we have a very fun segment over here called Medicare at Best. This is named after a word-for-word review submitted by an audience member that kind of does a great job of displaying just how dumb people are on the internet. And we've decided that we enjoy collecting some of these very stupid, bad reviews. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The movie isn't out yet. There is
True.
no audience score, and there are 0 audience reviews
Oh, interesting.
submitted. Yes.
Okay.
But what I learned today, I just want to share with you guys
The word congruous.
because it's fascinated me. I found what I think has to be the single greatest discrepancy between critic and audience score in the direction you would least expect.
Wait, for what? But it can't be for this because you have no money.
No, but it's gonna, I think, expose some of what we failed to understand about Medicare at Best. But it's very obvious. The movie is Melania.
Shazam.
Melania, which was just listed on.
But that's the good reviews are just paid for.
And it was what the review go.
But that's
Honestly, one of the best movies.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Critics 11%.
Yeah, because it's hard to pay a critic. 'cause they-
Audience 98%.
Yeah.
What I'm realizing, and then you figure it out as soon as you open those audience, is that this is a wildly Republican audience base that are the people that submit these
But I would
reviews.
just be careful because that one, you got like fucking whatever Charlie Kirk 2 podcast going like, let's all get on there and let's leave good reviews to show that Melania's good. Like, I think they are specifically activating for that movie. Like, I don't think that means that the reviews on Blair Witch Project on Rotten Tomatoes skew to the same type of audience.
Old MAGA, dude.
Oh, but I think that it's very
No, Rotten Tomato
easy.
website is red.
It is very easy for us to notice when it's dumb people drawing something down because they don't fully understand it. It's like a broader theme in the audience score. Where
Maybe these critics didn't understand Melania, dude.
I mean, apparently there's absolutely nothing about this movie that's redeeming. It's really bad.
Melania.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I actually do think if there was a Bernie Sanders doc, the audience score would be lower and the critic score would be
Interesting.
higher. I thought this was a big fucking revelation that nobody seems to care about.
No, it's
But
not about
this
not
is-
caring.
Listen, I saw it. It's not that bad, dude.
Anyway, here were some of my favorites, but before that, I do have one review from a critic for Undertone since we couldn't get an audience. And it says, this is Rotten, one of the Rotten scores. For those interested because they themselves are podcasters, isn't everyone? The film's depiction is absurd enough it might help you stay awake during the most dreary stretches. That is very on point, I think.
I fell asleep.
Yeah, and we are
Podcasters.
self-proclaimed podcasters, and it still couldn't keep you awake. For Melania, just... Are you going to want to skip this?
Yeah, we're not doing Melania.
I don't know. There's some
No,
pretty
if there's
fucking
I want to hear a
ones.
funny Melania one.
All right. The behind the scenes was top notch and unprecedented, spelled presidented, transparency. 5 stars. That's wild. Absolute beautiful movie to watch. The beginning is so good and fantastic. Trump wrote this one. I got an insight of the buildings and architecture. The people who dressed the First Lady are very skilled and knowledgeable. Melania embodies
Beautiful
poise
Jazzy.
and elegance, which we have never seen before.
Dude, never seen before.
5
Yeah.
stars.
People, everyone's talking
Dude,
about.
the
Have
first,
they never seen this
is
before?
crazy. The first one I opened, it just says great documentary for posterity. 4 stars. What?
To have in
it's
the
a lot
annals
of
of
people just
history.
misspelling positive feedback.
Yeah.
And like this one, it's real. Her focus on being best, in quotes, is awe-inspiring.
My friend who's a Democrat enjoyed it too. !
This is a negative review. Was this a comedy? I found myself laughing until I couldn't take it anymore. And then 0.5 star. I couldn't understand anything being said. Her accent is kind of crazy. Oh, and then if this film were any more shallow, it would evaporate. There are only so many of the positive reviews that you can read of people trying to use big words.
Yeah, how long has she been in this country? Fucking learn English, bitch.
Yeah. Also, there was one that was like just spelled Melanie every single time. I would just think if you're trying to put something thought-provoking onto the esteemed Rotten Tomatoes audience board, you would try to spell it right.
You are about to find out if we really know what we're talking about. Are we frauds or are we connoisseurs? Here come our rotten tomato scores.
All right. What do you guys think?
The critic score. Okay, so this is Rotten Tomatoes, where we're going to estimate the tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes. Estimate tomato, tomato. I am going to say, so we can't guess the audience because they're slow. We're ahead of the game. I'm going to say the critics ate this shit up, dude, because it just hit. It was like, oh, modern technology, sound. I'm like saying, I didn't hate this movie, but I didn't think it was that great, and I think the critics are going to eat it effing out of the butt. I'm going to say the critics gave it an 84.
Yeah, they're probably slurping this up. They're going, oh my God, I can't believe a movie is finally about audio equipment. Oh my God, this is amazing. It's so scary and so much potential. We make it loud, we make it soft, we make it you can't hear it, play it backwards, play it forwards, make it dead grandma upstairs. Is going to be perfect. A cocktail for success. Some guy from freaking Sony, some other guy from freaking Airbuds University, they all had a meeting and they said, I got an idea. Let's make a scary movie about shit you hear. Trash. Don't want to see it. Don't even want to hear it.
Not
Wish
the
I
segment.
I should have came into this movie wearing noise canceling headphones and eye canceling iPhones. Like I said, big heap of garbage.
Guess you're just guessing.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. But like I said, critics like garbage. And hear this, critics.
Your
I-
Trump
It's like an
impression.
impression
Yeah.
of your dad also.
I bet these freaking idiots gave this film, if you can call it that, an 86.
86? What was
84.
yours? It's 85. But
Oh,
I will give Brendan credit because it was 86 earlier today. It's been going down.
so it's going towards me.
All right, so let's guess audience scores. Oh, right,
87.
0. So now we'll just give our scores, right?
Yeah, let's give our scores.
And for what it's worth, IMDb was 6.9, which I believe is user rated. So that was
That's a little lower. Yeah. I think,
No,
by the
that's
way, I want to claim
still early on,
that's
though, right?
lower than an 85 for sure.
IMDb.
Yeah.
No,
so,
no, but that's mostly.
No, I
think
know.
that
That's
does
what I'm
have
saying.
user-
I think what I'm getting at is I feel very strongly that the user reviews will be lower. Well, maybe we're checking
Yeah.
in on future
Yeah,
podcasts,
no, no,
but I believe that
think-
when this evens out, I bet the user reviews are going to be around the high 70s.
I do think a lot of people are going to react like you did and the guy next to you. Where I think that unless you immerse yourself in these found footage, obscure
Right.
horror, there
Also-
there aren't too many movies that do just fucking
guy
say,
next
"Fuck
to
you,
me-
the movie's over."
The guy next to me was so funny because it was surround sound. At one point, he was looking around like crazy because he's like, "Where's the thumping coming from?" And then he saw the speaker behind him, and he was like, "Oh, thank God!" It's like that's amazing. That's exactly what the Dolby people wanted to see. Let's get to
hear.
our scores, dude.
All right, I gave this 7 out of 10. Just take off your headphones.
Abby, what do you give it? What do you give this movie?
I gave this movie a 7.6 death rattle and rolls. 7.6.
7.2 podcast. Let's get that on.
Wait, I thought you hated it. Why did you?
He didn't hate it. He got scared.
7.2 is a low score for me. I'm usually
it?
giving 8s. Yeah, I'm giving 8s left. I gave the monkey an 8.6, dude.
Monkey was fire. Dude, Send Help. Send Help was
7.2
very
is
monkey
solid.
quality.
Not at my
good.
scale.
Nice. Anyway,
7.6
I do think
podcast.
It was.
Like I said, there were
The
moments.
ending-
There were moments that I
What's the
enjoyed.
thing that they chant?
It did a-
Hookah shaka, hookah shaka, hookah shaka. All right, bye.
2 men and a baby. Oh yeah. 2 men